Today we're going to talk about what needs to be done for Unit 3. Remember always to scroll down so you don't miss anything, and know that at the top of the unit we also have our student learning objectives and what you need to read for this unit. For this particular unit, we're going to be talking about DC and Marvel Comics, and you have two articles here to read, each of them by Tim DeForest. You'll also want to read Chapter 11 in your Easy Writer textbook. Here's the video to help explain what's new in this unit. There's also some information here about using the library's databases. When writing for academic purposes and using outside sources, you need to find things that are reliable and reputable. Do not use Wikipedia to write an academic paper, ever. Just don't do it. So where do you find good information? Well, you can link to the college's databases even if you can't physically go to the library, because these things are more researched and nuanced and ready to go. Here's some information about how to use the library's databases. They talk about finding books on their website, finding articles on their website, which is what we will mostly be using. It talks about academic search, issues and controversies, opposing viewpoints, and JSTOR. These are some of the different databases that you can use. Probably Academic Search Complete will be the one that we need to use the most for our class, but that information is there for you. You also can find Sanjak's Helm for English 1301 on the library at this link. This is specifically for English 1301 classes, and it has information that is useful for a 1301 class. Note that some instructors have individual pages for the things that they want to do. I am not one of those instructors. Mine is just the general information. There's places here where you can click on research tools that tells you how to do some research and things that are popularly articles versus scholarly articles, anatomy of an article. It tells you how to go through all of this and use this research to your fullest advantage. There's also the link to find articles, and this is where you will find Academic Search Complete, where you can actually search for articles, find books if you'd like to pick up a book at the library and read it for my class or any other purpose, find web resources, citations, interlibrary loan. The thing about this is that you can get books from other libraries in the Sanjak system. And then finally, some special topics. So these are things that you need to think about and you need to learn about and do. And you will need to come back to this library database page in order to complete the library resources scavenger hunt, which is due on Friday the 17th by 11:59 p.m. This is a 10-question scavenger hunt. It's sort of like a quiz. You just have to answer based on the information that is available here. So, the other parts of this is that there is a Comic Book Superheroes Unmasked documentary that you can watch. This video will give you some background and information on the comic book companies. And finally, you have the actual essay instructions. Again, with this one, you are going to write no less than 600 and no more than 1,000 words, not including your header information, your title, your works cited. And this focus is a compare and contrast over Marvel and DC. Remember that you have to use the two articles that I gave you by Tim DeForest, plus you will need to find two other articles on your own in the library's databases that help you to explain or make your point. This is an examination of some aspect of these two companies, not just those two articles, so it's not a close reading. This is a researched paper. Your task here is to compare or contrast, or compare and contrast, the world of Marvel and DC. Both of them have made an incredible impact on American culture, and there are some amazing similarities and differences between the two companies. Now, you can do this from a lot of different angles. You could compare the founding of the two companies and their growth and how they worked. You could give me an overview of the general universe of each company, maybe choose 2 or 3 characters and talk about how they're similar and different from one another. If you are interested in psychology, maybe you look at the driving forces behind our favorite heroes or our favorite villains. If you are going into fashion, maybe you talk about their costuming and the clothing and how it's changed over time. Your choices here are pretty endless. Be creative. If you're not sure, please do ask me so that you can make sure that you're on the right track and that there's enough to write about that's also not too much to write about. As with our previous papers, when you use quotes, you must include at least one direct quote from each of the two articles, properly formatted and cited, both in text and in works cited at the end of the page. Or at the end of the paper. If you don't cite a source, you can be charged with plagiarism. Again, do not use Wikipedia as a source. Your sources must come from the library's databases. See details in Unit 3 on how to find legitimate relevant sources. Do not use quotes of more than 4 lines. Keep them short, as they're meant to prove your point or give an example, not simply fill out your word count. Your final draft, again, must be an MLA style. Don't use a template. A note on using 2 articles by the same author. This is incredibly important. When completing the in-text citations for DeForest, be sure to indicate which of the 2 articles you're quoting by including a shortened version of the title with the citation. For example, if this were the quote, the citation after it might look like this: DeForest, comma, in quotation marks because it's an article title, Marvel, parentheses, and period. From the other article, it might look like this: DeForest, DC. Please also note that DC is always 2 capital letters with no periods. It's not an abbreviation. It's an acronym or initialism. So make sure that every time you refer to DC, you put capital D, capital C with no spacing and no periods. At the end of your paper, before the work cited, skip 1 line, include the word count. Make sure that you understand if it exceeds 1,000 words, I will not keep reading. We will do a peer review process on this, just like we did on the last paper. Your draft and review is due on Monday, and your final copy of the paper is due on Wednesday. Tips for success, again, don't name it Essay 3 or Compare and Contrast or Marvel and DC. It should have something to do with your paper and be interesting and grab your reader's attention. Write your paper as if the reader has no idea what your prompt is, and do not focus on yourself, your own opinions, or your own experiences. Remember, this is not about how you feel or what you think. You're not telling me this is the best because or this is the worst because. Be objective. Be careful to spell and capitalize names the way that the author does. Word does not like the name DeForest, and it will try to mark it as a misspelled word. Also, pay attention to his capitalization. Both the D and the F are capitalized. It's capital D, E, capital F, O-R-E-S-T. Only one R. Don't put DeForest. I've had all kinds of misspellings of DeForest's name, so please make sure that you pay attention and spell his name correctly. Finally, the paper must be turned in through Turnitin on the Submit Assignments tab. Now, this paper is what's called the signature assignment for the college. This means that in every single English 1301 class, they have a paper with some of the similar expectations of this one, and these are put into a clearinghouse that the state college board can review if they feel the need to do so. They need to make sure that we're being consistent across all of our classes, so we have to turn them in 2 places. This means when you go into the Submit Assignments tab and you are ready to turn in this paper, you're going to turn in the same file twice. The first one is the traditional Turnitin file where you click View Complete and turn in the file like normal. And then under Essay 3 Secondary Submission, you will click here and submit the exact same file in this spot. It's very important that you understand that you have to turn it in twice. Additionally, you also have to write a 250-word reflection after the work cited that addresses how your position and writing skills have grown over the course of doing this assignment, and how you dealt with any challenging concepts, and how you might be able to further your knowledge in the future. This is not part of your word count, and it is not part of your grade. This is a reflection. It's time for you to think and learn and grow from your experiences. Make sure that these additional parameters for this paper are followed and followed appropriately so that you may get full points on your grade. Again, this part is not part of the grade, but I will be looking to make sure that you at least completed it. If you have any questions on this, please do let me know. And remember that this paper is due on Wednesday, July 22nd by 11:59 p.m. Thanks so much, and good luck.